So Fuji finally got timecode support. Well, kind of. If you didn't know, firmware 5.1 just came out the other day, and it now enabled timecode support with the Sync Blue, the Ultra Sync Blue. Now, this was initially exciting, and still seeing Fuji's attempts to improve in areas that many people are wanting is encouraging. However, it's not the best implementation that I've seen, and it's less than stable. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about the Ultra Sync Blues, how to integrate them with the Fujifilm cameras, and also some creative solutions on utilizing this timecode generator and your Fujifilm cameras to then jam all of your other audio devices that aren't Bluetooth enabled. So to start, you will have to acquire one of these UltraSync Blues, and this communicates with multiple Bluetooth devices. However, it seems to be more of the prosumer, less professional devices like the Zooms and the Tascams. I don't know exactly the compatibility list, but if you have the device, certainly you will be able to look up and see if it's compatible with this. Now, if that's the case, it's pretty simple. You just have to connect it via Bluetooth. I do know that there's limitations on how many devices can be connected to this UltraSync Blue, and so you might need to get a couple of them. Now, if that's all you have, just Bluetooth enabled devices, then you can stop there. However, if you're like me and you have a bunch of other devices like a MixPre 3, 6, any of the sound devices or Tentacle syncs, as well as some of the Deity devices, you will need what is a UltraSync 1. There's a real YouTuber of me holding it in front of the camera. Can you see it? There you go. Now the UltraSync 1 can act as the master timecode clock and feed that same timecode to this, which then feeds it to all your Bluetooth devices. And now where this comes into play is you can take a cable. I ended up already having a BNC to auxiliary, and I had to buy a BNC to this tiny BNC for this. You can plug it into the LTC out, and you can jam this audio signal, which is feeding some sort of timecode, to all of your audio devices that have this end. Now you might need multiple cables. However, all of my Tentacles and MixPre were able to be jammed by this device. So once you get everything all synced up, then you should be good. You actually have timecode in your metadata rather than an audio file, which is not too bad, but it's also not ideal. You have to update the timecode in post. Then one of your audio channels has the audio file that is atrocious embedded into it. And so I actually did a little test with multiple audio sources as well as multiple camera angles, and I will show y'all that here. We have one camera here. We've also got another camera here, and then another angle right here. And so these should all be synced by this device right here. You can actually see the timecode on the screen. And as you could see, it worked great. And you might think, wow, Fujifilm finally has it figured out when it comes to timecode. But it has been less than ideal. We actually, the day after I got all this set up, we had a shoot with 3 cameras. And ultimately, when it came down to it, they all synced. However, periodically throughout the day, it would take 2 minutes for one to sync. Sometimes you'd have to turn the camera on and off multiple times, and then it would sync. And ultimately, this is just a workflow that doesn't work, period. It needs to be reliable, and so far it hasn't been. My thought is it could be Fujifilm. It's just not perfectly optimized yet on Fujifilm's Bluetooth end. And so my hope is it's firmware stuff that can be updated, but my fear is it's just something that is never going to be a perfect solution. And so for the time being, I'm still going to be using Tentacle tracks and Tentacle Sync Ease, and using that as my timecode master rather than the Atomos stuff. However, I do hope that there is an update with this stuff because it does seem like a great solution. I'd love to have timecode in my metadata rather than just busying up an audio file. So now that we got all of that out of the way on what you're gonna need, and feel free to purchase it and try it yourself. Maybe I just have some bad luck. However, I will show you how to set it up because it's not the most simple thing. I will also say it was never consistent when it came to setting it up, and that's probably to speak with like just the Bluetooth connection not being perfect. But there are a few steps. One of them being you have to have a Windows PC. You have to update the firmware on this guy on Windows, because Apple, for some reason, the firmware is not up to date enough on this. It's really confusing. So once you get this updated with the Windows PC, and I'll have the link in the description for downloading, then you'll want to follow these instructions kind of that I have here. As you'll see in these instructions themselves, I still didn't exactly know how to set it up. Each camera, I synced all three of my XH2Ss. Each camera worked a little differently and synced at a different pace. And so you'll just have to mess around with it, follow what I did. I did my best to show the step-by-step process. So yeah, just watch that video. Let me know in the comments below if you have any solutions on getting these to be more consistent or syncing a little easier. But from that, we'll have the tutorial, and then I will catch y'all later. Syncing music.